Ah, yes. You know, there's an old line, history doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme. Not sure who said that one, but in the spirit of that phrase, I present to you this, debunking the myth of the male hunter. Prehistoric women were better at hunting than men, study claims. Now, it goes without saying, no they weren't, this is complete bullshit, and this is really, really bad propaganda that everyone can see is really, really bad propaganda. Hell, even the comment section is full of people taking the piss out of this because it's a blatantly obvious attempt at presentism, and it's straight up stupid. Now, the reason I bring this up, does this look familiar? If you're a long-time subscriber, it might, because this is one of the first few videos I did on this channel more than 3 years ago. It was an article about a bunch of stones found with a pile of bones. Hey, they rhymed. Later discovered female bones, and the assumption is, she must have been a proud hunter. Couldn't possibly be any other explanation at all. No, not that she carried them for somebody else, was buried with them as part of a ritual of some kind. No. She was definitely the one who used them for hunting big game. Fuck off. Now we have this, debunking the myth of the male hunter. Prehistoric women were better at hunting than men, study claims. We don't even need to read this to know this is bullshit. Let's be real. If you simply go and look up the credentials of the author, because if you want to publicize serious, scientifically credible propaganda, you want to try and peddle it in the Daily Mail. And here she is. Now, if we can simply do a cursory search, and there it is, gender studies. Sexism in the Olympics. Yeah, we've seen enough to get the message you're a delusional ideologue. Rather than viewing it as a way of erasing or rewriting history, which is what you're doing, our studies are trying to correct the history that erased women from it, said Dr. Kara Okubak, lead author of the study. Because of course it's an XX, who else would write something this imbecilic? She also happens to be a powerlifter. Apparently. I do love the narrative of these desperate plebs. On the one hand, women were always oppressed since the dawn of time, but they were always equal to men. Even then. Because division of labor never existed among the sexes for any reason at all. No, it just magically happened for some reason at some point. All over the world. And when that happened, they never say, but it totally happened because something I don't really know. Now listen here, toots, I am immune to your imbecilic language bullshittery. And believe me, so is damn near all men. No amount of academically backed brainwashing is ever going to convince anyone this isn't closer to comedy than it is to your cockeyed fairy tale version of human biology. Every man, especially ones who've actually hunted before, are laughing their asses off at you because you reek of cope. You can already tell the psychology of this individual, can't you? Again, it's such a cliched stereotype at this point. It's borderline comedically predictable. Look at this. How deep in the cope and denial must you be to post this? Like, these people are seriously deranged, mentally unwell. This thing even has the feminist haircut, for heaven's sakes. Again, this is comedy. If you read the article, the concept of strength doesn't even feature in the conversation with regards to hunting. The woman literally just claims, female body is better suited for endurance, and therefore they would have some advantage over their male counterparts. How exactly is that an advantage? You can travel further, which is a straight-up lie. That's bollocks. Secondly, how are you going to take down the game? And what game are you hunting? There's no mention of any animals whatsoever. The male form is superior in both strength and endurance, you absolute loon. Look at this. No one is ever going to take this seriously. Men are stronger, so they can throw harder and further. Women would have to get closer, be in more danger to do less damage than a man. There is no evidence whatsoever that women can ever be superior hunters. Hell, it doesn't even make any biological sense to try and counter that claim. Women simply cannot compete against men in any physical arena. We are your biological betters. Cope harder. Estrogen is really the unsung hero of life, in my mind. Yeah, if that phrase doesn't scream ideological indoctrination, I don't know what does. Now let's get a bit nerdy here, shall we? Because the article does go on about carbohydrates and fats and endurance hormones, all of this utter nonsense which might fool a sucker. Here's the thing though, I am a guy and I'm a personal trainer, so allow me to explain some things to you about the human body. Do you see this? Yeah, this is fat stored in the body, called triglycerides. And as you can see there, 3 fatty acids attached to the glycerol backbone, right? Now in order for this to make its way to the cell in the body to be used as energy, an enzyme called lipase comes in and separates them from the glycerol backbone. Now this process is called lipolysis. Now, once those fatty acids are separated and gets pulled into the bloodstream, being that blood is mainly water and fat is not soluble in water, they are transported via a protein called serum albumin. And once they make their way into the cell, it needs to enter the mitochondria of the cell, where it gets converted to ATP, adenosine triphosphate. This is our body's energy currency. That process of conversion is called beta-oxidation. Here's the kicker though. Our body's main go-to source for fuel is glucose, stored as glycogen in your muscles and liver. This is what your body will tap for energy first, priority number one. Fat is an emergency reserve fuel source. It is not a go-to source of fuel. The body needs to be essentially coaxed into using it. This is why people fast for fat loss, so they can deplete the glycogen storage and essentially force the body into start tapping the energy reserves. The main variable of human activity that triggers this is intensity. Your body does not burn fat during high-intensity activities like sprinting. It will only use glucose because it needs it immediately. Rapid-fire muscles, right? And as far as I'm aware, when it's lacking that, it will start to burn protein or even your own muscle tissue to get the glucose through a process called gluconeogenesis. Only low and medium intensity oxidizes fat. This is why when bodybuilders are getting ready for stage shape, they don't lift heavy-ass weight, they walk. So this woman's claim that apparently superior fat oxidation in the female form is going to somehow magically make them superior hunters is laughably absurd. The intensity of the hunting activity is nowhere even featured in her hypothesis, which is not a surprise. It's designed to be as vague as possible because it's propaganda, which is why you all watch me, because we debunk this kind of nonsense on this channel. Woo! And that's basically it. There's nothing more here. Very brief, very vague, and to the trained eye, very, very stupid. It's nonsense. There's a couple of phrases here that did catch my eye, like this one. The study went on to examine fossils for archaeological evidence of women as hunters. Now you see, in the world of the sane and the XY, you would first get the discovery and form the hypothesis based on your findings. No. Here, we already have formulated a theory, and now we're going to bullshit evidence. Find evidence to support our claims. Really? Give me a friggin' break. These findings indicate prehistoric women not only shared in the resulting injuries of the dangerous business of close contact hunting, but that it was an activity held in high esteem and valued by them. Yeah, that is rubbish. There is no evidence for that whatsoever. Professor Ackerbuck said, "You don't often get buried with something unless it was important to you or was something that you used frequently in your life. Or maybe it belonged to your clan or kin and had nothing to do with your gender at all." Hey, look, if we're going to make up shit, I believe my hypotheticals are far more reasonable than her ones. Now let's look at the last couple of sentences, which really need no commentary from me because, again, more red flags in a Chinese military parade. The two studies, simultaneously published in the journal American Anthropologist, are of high importance to both authors who hope their findings will help change the narrative surrounding modern-day women. This revelation is especially important in the current political moment of our society where sex and gender are in the spotlight, Professor Ackerbuck added. And I want people to be able to change these ideas of female physical inferiority that have been around for so long. Geez, I wonder why those ideas have staying power. We have to change the biases we bring to the table, or at least to give pause before we assign those biases. Remember that Mike Mensa quote, "It is used to keep you confused by suggesting it is a virtue to give plausibility to everything. Nothing is concrete." Except in their worldview. Unless they say otherwise, like when they change it, because a flag told them to. And in a broader sense, you cannot outrightly assume somebody's abilities based on whatever sex or gender you have assigned by looking at them. Man, the penis envy is overwhelming. And yes, you can. It's called sports, you lunatic. Hell, in your own bloody article, you claim that men are the powerlifters. You yourself are implying that men are stronger. So by your own assessment, I can ascertain men are physically superior. This is pathetic, it really is, and it is utterly destroying the credibility of our institutions as well. Although that's probably a good thing, actually. Curtis Yarvin said the best thing to do to beat the regime is to drive a tank through Harvard Yard. You know, at this point, I feel like it's likely going to collapse under the weight of its own ignorant stupidity. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need breakfast whiskey. Cheers for watching, and once again, I apologize for nothing.